Yo, what's going on? Hope you guys are doing well. Happy hump day. This is Radium Records. I'm Bradley Deniston. Going to be doing some production right now in Logic Pro. I'm going to be working on some cool stuff, and I wanted to go live and share it with you guys because that's always fun, right? You guys can ask any questions you got in the comments. Please connect with each other. Drop your handles, all that good stuff. This is for you guys to connect and to learn, right? So I'm kind of producing this record. It's really towards sync licensing, and I'm trying to go for like a soul, pop, funk kind of vibe, something a little more modern, but also like shouts to classic, like 60s kind of stuff, right? 60s Motown. Yeah, you'll get it. You'll see a bunch of spice in there. Who's in the house? If you're here, say what's up. Don't be a creep. I hate when people come through these lives and they just like mouth breathe in the background and like don't say what's up. They don't comment. They don't share the show. Like, you guys aren't even welcome here. Get out of here, right? I'm just playing, but everyone's welcome. So come through, ask any questions. What's up, Drew Knight? This is obviously like pretty, I'm just doing this off the top and I'm working on stuff. So I figured I'd just share it with you guys. But let's get into the session here and show you guys what's going on. And also just like, I want to share with you guys like what, a bunch of different principles, ideas, stuff I do in Logic Pro all the time, and how I use Logic Pro and how I start tracks in Logic Pro. Okay. So first things first, the record itself is very directed towards sync licensing. That is my main goal with this record. And I think it is important for you to have a goal when you make a record. You shouldn't just like, I like to make music, I'm just going to make a song. Now, you can do that, fine. And I do that sometimes to like kind of, get things going. Maybe I need to get the creative juices flowing, right? Like I'll just start making something. But for the most part, when you're making music for a living or you're trying to make music for a living, you should always have something in mind. I'm going to produce for this artist. I'm going to pitch this. I'm going to do this with it, whatever. So this track is 100%. I'm trying to make it for sync licensing. And if I go even further down the well and get more and more specific, I'm trying to make this so it would sync license on a commercial. Okay. So I get very, very, very structured and I get very targeted on what my music is made for or what I'm making it for. Okay. Now, with that said, it's going to be a female vocalist on the record. Okay. So I always have to think about that as well. So here's what I got so far. And this is just like throwing ideas at the wall, playing guitars, bass, stuff like that on it. And I'm just going to kind of play this for you. Hold on, I'm getting some weird stuff. I probably need to adjust the buffer here. Ecamm Live has a terrible audio driver. I don't know how they get away with this, but so you'll hear it. Anyway, I do have some mastering, like I have master chain on. Typically when I'm going and I'm sketching, I just have everything ready to go. Okay, like I'll have a template that's made for soul, funk. If I'm making a trap beat, I'm going to have a template for trap stuff, like my trap drums, you know what I mean? Stuff I use all the time. What's up, Sir Z Jor? I always see you in here, man. What's going on? Hope you're doing well. But yeah, you have to really like have things ready to go. Like you got to take the left side of your brain out of it as much as possible so you could just be creative. All right, let's try this again. All right, still struggling, and I think it is just like it's the audio card. It has to be. So let's take the audio card to 512. I didn't want to do this, but that's part of the game. So yeah, I'll have my template ready, and when I'm live streaming, and when you're live streaming, when anyone's live streaming, it taxes your computer so much harder with audio because it's going through a bunch of calculations. So that's why it always kind of like starts to crap out a little bit. And also, let's face it, these like streaming services, like these platforms, they're not really made for streaming audio. These are live samples coming off of hard drives, multiple hard drives, plugins, running off UAD cards, all sorts of crazy stuff. So a lot of math going on with audio. All right, here it is. Okay, so my first step and goal, and hopefully you guys can hear that okay. Again, like I think it's just the audio card is really bad with live streaming. So my first goal here is to make sure I have all the parts that I need. It's kind of like having the ingredients, right? So I have like my kit, I have my drums, I have kind of my foundation. I played the bass in, you know, I got like a nice little tone with the bass using some different plugins, and I'll show you guys some cool stuff with this. Abbey Road RS-124, amazing on bass, and it's that classic sound. That's what I'm looking for, right? So if I'm looking for classic Motown, I should use the stuff they used on classic Motown records. Now, of course, they didn't have the Abbey Road RS-124 plugin from Waves. They had this actual audio, this actual analog unit, right? Harmonics. I use different things for harmonics, but this is one of my favorites ever, and I don't know why more people don't talk about this plugin, because it's probably the best for harmonics. It's just amazing. It's just such a good, colorful thing. If you want that like Fruity Loops clipped out kind of vibe on your tracks, use this. This is what this is, this Harmonics by Softtube. And it has a bunch of different stuff: solid state, transformer, master, tube, and modern. Okay, so you can choose all sorts of different drive types and characteristics. And there's filters in here. There's a dry wet knob. And then this is a really, really cool vibe over here. So you can like basically make it more controlled, where it's like more of like a less dynamic distortion. So it's like clipping into, let's say, a tape machine, where you're getting compression as well. That's kind of the idea. It's controlling it more. Or you could kind of leave it neutral, or you can do it with more dynamics, meaning it's going to be distorted, but it's still going to be dynamic. Okay, hopefully this is making sense. When you push into a tape machine, it compresses the signal, right? So let's say you have a bass that's going boop, boop, boo doop, boop, boop, boo doop, boo, right? If I turn this knob to the left all the way, it's going to flatten out that bass and go. All the notes are going to be very, very constant. And that's what I like. I like to compress and then distort, but this kind of does both of those things. Now, if I turn this to the more dynamic, it's still going to give me drive, but it's going to give it more dynamically. So to go, right? It's giving me the fuzz, but it's also giving me the dynamics. So like for dynamics, you might want that on like drums, right? Snares, kick drums, etc. So you got to know your tools, basically. Big Muffy bass is the preset that I tweaked here. Okay, so this is just my bass tone. So I'm just going to kind of play that for you, and I'm going to throw it against these drums. And the drums here, I love this drum kit, and I'm just showing this to you guys because these are like the ingredients for like a soul record. If you were going to make a soul record now, today, that you wanted throwback feels on, right? So I have the Slate digital drums here. And the reason I'm using this kit is because it's actually from Patrick, forget his name, Patrick something or other. But he's the producer for the Black Keys, right? And the Black Keys have like a really good throwback sound. It's just the vibe that they have, right? So that's what I'm using. I'm using one of Patrick Carney. Okay, so that's like a very vintage kind of old school kind of sound. And then I have the Abbey Road saturator on the drums, which is giving me a lot of vintage tone. Okay. So check this out. I'm just going to play the kit with and without this this Abbey Road. And also I'm sending it to a Valhalla plate. You know, plate reverb is very old school. It's classic. They used it in Motown 140s, EMTs, right? And then we have a API 2500. Now, this is a little bit more modern, right? API 2500 was not around back then, okay? Not in the 60s. So it's got like a fat punch to it, right? So hopefully this is like all making sense. If you guys have any questions about the tones, please drop in the comments. Modern production, like what you're doing, you're shaping sounds and making shit sound cool. Like the arrangements have already been done. Everybody's made the same arrangements in soul, funk. You know, we're talking about literally pentatonic scales. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like you're going to do anything new there. All right. So here's the kit with and without the Abbey Road and the Sens here. Yo, this is tripping out on me. What is going on? It's like some crazy shit going on. Anyway, I'm gonna start to I'm gonna get rid of some of these things that I'm not using because I do not need all this crazy fucking latency. I don't care. All right. Sorry guys. I'm like, yeah, check this out, and it's all clack 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 clack. I'll get rid of all this stuff because I really don't need any of these tracks. Delete. All right, even the woes here. The woes. All right, so let's go back to this. Let's see if this kit will actually play. Yo, this is tripping out. Let me relaunch Logic real quick. Just some crazy shit going on. It's like having problems synchronizing MIDI. I'm like, bro, you're not dealing with MIDI. Like, calm down here. All right, let's do this. All right, you know, it's probably this Raven software too. But anyway, so once I relaunch Logic Pro, we'll get back into it. But yeah, like tonality for the records you're trying to produce. Back to what I'm saying is, like, if you're going to do a modern trap record, you have to use modern trap sounds. If you're going to do a throwback R&B record, you got to know, like, they use the Korg Triton, you know, they use certain things, the MPC, right? MPC 4000, 2000 XL, etc. You have to know the tools that were being used in the throwback kind of sounds that you're trying to get to. So that's super, super important. Yeah, I appreciate you, James. That's what's up. He comes in and he just rolls in. You know, he's like, yeah, here you go. Here's some super chat dough. Appreciate you, man. Yo, what's up? What's up? DJ Equinox, always showing love. Yeah, natural, absolutely. Feeling it, yeah. It's a music producer. That was super deep. Yep. Yeah, I appreciate you, man. I'm excited to see the new room and hear it, man. Hear what you're going to come out of with that room. That's super dope. You got a big room too. Like, that sounds like the dimensions of it are really good. So you guys show love on the video, share it if you want to. We're seeing, like, this is a live stream and it's absolutely not live streaming very well. So let's go. Figure it out, Logic. Man, sometimes, like, the live streaming of any audio is just so difficult for computers. And guess what? This is a new Mac Studio. So if you guys think like, oh, a Mac Studio with the M1 Max Pro, all this stuff is going to help you, think again. You don't need upgrades, man. You just have to get your machine to be stable. All right, so check it out. Here's the kit. Okay, so hopefully you're hearing what that's doing. It's giving me some, like, room, which is the plate. It's giving me punch. It's giving me some crispy, kind of saturated stuff where you're hearing the ring of the snare, which is very old school sounding, right? But it's still modern because the kit is modern, right? So it's like a Black Keys kit. You know, Patrick Carney, like, he produced this stuff, right? Okay, so let's throw in... This is what I started with on a Rickenbacker bass, right? So this was like a, you know, contact Rickenbacker. This is kind of like where I started the idea. And then I played the bass in by plugging in my my Fender P bass and played something different. But here's where it started with the Rickenbacker. Very basic, and what I'm trying to do is find the foundation for something that I can write on that feels soulful, Motown, etc., right? So for me, I was like, yo, I need more nuance in the bass, so I have to actually play it, okay? So here's the bass, the Fender P bass, just a Mexican-made P bass, plugged directly in, DI'd. I think I took it through on the console. Like if I go into the console, I'm giving you guys all the game. I'm going to give you everything. I'm not going to hold anything back. You're never going to make shit the same way that I make it anyway. It's just the way it works. So what I did is I went through this tube. Let me see. For my bass, all I did, this is the only thing I ran it through, was a Sentry tube strip. Okay? So this was on a demo. So I'm going to start the demo again because whatever. I just literally went through this, DI'd it, and I compressed a little bit, and I just drove the tube a little bit. And that was just the P bass going directly in, okay? All right, so now I'm going to turn that off. I can actually just like remove that. You can see this is my vocal chain right here that I'm talking through. But that's how I did the bass. I went through that, and then I threw on this Abbey Road again. Again, we're going for Motown sounds. We got to use Motown tools, right? If you guys want this Abbey Road Studios plugin, this is incredible. I'll give you a link because I can give you an affiliate link and it helps the channel out. That's it. If you want to just go buy it from Waves. It's worth it. It's awesome. I love this compressor. Okay, it's like one of my favorite compressors for that old classic sound. Again, I'm using the harmonics on this. I'm distorting the bass using a modern distortion algorithm, okay? And then the Pro Q3, I'm doing some push on the 500 area, the 100 area, and I'm sweeping out everything below 24 hertz, okay? And I'm also taking down a little bit of that 200 area because on P basses, that gets really growly, you know? It's just the way it is, okay? So here we go. This is what it sounds like with the bass in, and I'll pop the plugins in and out so you can hear kind of the tones and textures I got with that. Okay, so key thing here. Now, again, we're going for this Motown classic kind of sound, right? So we want the bass to be kind of distorted and sound like it's just starting to break apart, right? And a lot of people get this wrong with distortion. They fuck it up. And I'll be honest with you guys, like, it's because they're not hearing it right. Usually it's because the setup, the speakers they're listening through, they're not, you know, they're not trained. Their ears aren't trained to figure out the breakup point of these different plugins. So I'll show you, for example, with this saturator and this drive and this part here and the mix dry wet, I'll show you like where that breakup point is because I want this bass to sound like it's getting distorted by hitting tape really hard, okay? So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to go for like tape saturated kind of distortion. I'm not going for like, you know, drive, fuzz, you know, stuff like that. I'm going for tape saturation because that's what Motown was. Lots of tape. All right, so check this out. I'm going to show you the breakup points here. Right, so all I'm doing is I'm just like overloading tape, basically, is the idea there, okay? So that's what, then the bass starts to sound old school. It starts to sound classic because it's not perfect. If I leave it like this, without any of this stuff on there, let's say just even the compressor, it doesn't sound classic. It sounds more modern. So you want that classic sound. It can't be too clean and crisp and perfect. And also it just sounds very digital to me. To my ears, when I hear it without any of the plugins, it sounds very digital. And it sounds like digital can be good because it's immediate, right? Because like the transients are so immediate, they jump out of the speakers. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for three-dimensional, right? So you can hear even like the woof comes up when you bring on all these plugins as well. Okay, so that's where I was. I was like, yo, here's my kit. Here's my bass. Now I need something to kind of give it more of that jangle and more of that like Motown vibe. So I actually used Gypsy, which was really interesting. And I think the reason I use this is because there's like all these really cool sampled like hand percussion kind of instruments. And so that's why I used it for. So here it is with this. Okay, you also got to do your homework because like that's a very classic Motown beat, right? You know, like it's very classic Motown. That beat is. So that's what I'm trying to do is bring that back, throw the claps in, etc. Okay, so very important. That's all there. It's all cool. Gypsy, like the cool thing about this is that the samples sound like deep and they sound natural. Like it sounds like someone actually played that, which is really important because I want things to sound natural and organic. And anytime you get a brief for like sync licensing, etc., they're going to say like, oh, we want it to sound organic, not too synthy, not too electronic. This is how you guys do it. I'm trying to show you that game. You know, like it's distorting the bass with harmonics, Abbey Road stuff. It's taking the right kits and understanding them, throwing it through Abbey Road, understanding like everything needs to sound organic, even though they're just samples and they are basically synths, right? It's playing the bass in rather than using the Rickenbacker sampled bass, right? So you can get more of the right? You can do the natural stuff that humans do. That gives you a natural organic feel. Okay, so from there, I started to pop in different ideas for horns and stuff, right? So this was very much just sketching, okay? So I wanted to have some ideas, okay? So here's what I did with the horns. I just have like some, okay, so this is like Contact Session horns. Yeah, so Session Horns Pro. Amazing, right? And if you're trying to do funk and soul, you want to mainly focus on saxes and trombones, right? And then you can do like the trumpet stuff up top, but yeah, you got to stack up, you got to make your own horn section. These are just ideas. These are just simply little riffs and stuff to get me kind of interested. And then I also have this Stylus RMX Soul Funk drums, okay? So let me show you what that is. That's just a tambourine right here, okay? And this starts to pick up the pace here. So that just soul funk like rhythm, that just like going tambo on them, that's just gonna pick up the whole pace of the whole track, and that's what that's for, is just like to bring up this like the chorus kind of vibe, right? Okay, so let's get into this because these are claps. These are actually claps from Cannon Busters. So I had like 6 people like layer, you know, from like a choir, like actually layer the claps and do like multiple passes. And I mic'd these up with M49Bs, vintage microphones, 2 of those. And those were basically like in a figure 8 pattern, right? And then the people were around the microphones. And that's like, yo, that's like $28,000 in microphones. You know what I'm saying? So kind of crazy. But then I sampled them, right? So here's all the claps here, so you can hear them. Right? And if you guys want those, I might just throw those into the Logic producer pack. Just because like I think that'd be really dope. Like, yo, here's some choir claps that were actually mic'd up through like $28,000 worth of microphones. You know, that's pretty cool. So I just have a little compression on there, and I have a Valhalla vintage verb on there as well. Okay, so you can do that with anything. You can use, I got built-in, you know, Logic compression here. Okay, so here's the claps, and they really like kind of bring the vibe up here. Okay, so with and without the claps, you're like, oh, damn, it's missing something, right? The claps give dimension. They make things bigger, right? And then, of course, the guitars. So we'll get into the guitars next. And that's actually where I've been kind of just starting to work on the guitar parts. Okay, so the guitars. How do you get these classic sounds, right? First things first, you get the right guitar. So a Strat, a Telecaster, those are going to be like spanky, kind of like, you know, if you have a Rickenbacker, then cool, use a Rickenbacker because that's kind of the classic 60s kind of sound. Lots of Beatles records use Rickenbacker guitars. Now, when I'm talking about Rickenbackers, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So we're talking like 60s Rickenbacker. And they call them Rickenbacker down in the South, right? Okay, so you go in here. This is like what a Rickenbacker looks like. This is kind of like the classic kind of Beatles, Rickenbacker kind of vibe. And I'm showing you guys all this stuff because I want you to have the tools to make this kind of sound. So if you're going for Beatles, you're going for, you know, anything vintage like that. You know, the Monkees, you know what I mean? Like Beatles, classic, like soul, Motown kind of stuff. You're talking Rickenbacker. You're talking Les Paul, you know? So you have to, I don't know why my internet's so bad, but that's probably why I'm getting problems anyway. You might lose me here for a second, but I just switched the internet over. So check that out. So that's a 1966 hollow body electric, okay? That's a Rickenbacker. Now this guitar is going to be on countless, like, you know, soul, funk, pop, R&B, you know, records. That's what this guitar was for. Okay, so just wanted to show that to you. But we don't have that. I don't have that kind of money to go pay for electric guitars like that. So yeah, blues as well. Absolutely, tons of blues. But you know, not so much the blues. Blues was more Les Paul, B.B. King kind of stuff was more Les Paul, Epitaph. Let me see. Probably Fender, Gibson, lots of Gibson, mainly Gibson, Les Paul stuff. Because Les Paul was kind of like the blues guy, you know. That's what all those guys wanted. They wanted that. And then the hollow body, of course, you know, like, but that was, like I'm saying, that's Gibson. Rickenbacker was like 60s, like that's like more 60s pop. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying. All right, so here it is. So guitars, we have a Strat and we have a Tele. So I have like an American-made, just Telecaster Deluxe. Like this is like the Tele is like made for that really spanky, slappy sound. All right, so I like very like lead plucky, like riffs, right? Like bow, bow, you know, it's like very cutty in that mid-range. So that's what I used here. And this Telecaster is going through bias effects too. Yeah, Tom Petty, absolutely. You got it, nailed it. And that was more 70s, I would say, you know, like Tom Petty picking up the Rickenbacker in the 70s. But yeah, I mean, you know, those are classic tones. All right, I don't know why they always want you to buy shit in the actual plugin. It's like, I'm trying to use the plugin. Why are you selling me stuff in the plugin? Like, come on, guys. All right, so this right here, Vintage 66 AC Boost V2, right? So you guys know what this is. Very, very, very classic kind of sound. British 30, so you're talking AC 30 kind of cab. This actual reverb in here is really great, this spring reverb. Spring reverbs are going to give you that vibe of like that era, 60s, 70s kind of splank, slank, schlank, you know, it just kind of gives you that vibe. So that's what I got there. And then the harmonics to make this just kind of pop a little bit more. So here's what the guitar tone sounds like in the beginning. So you can hear it's like very sloppy and very like, you know, just vibey. But listen to the spring especially, and you hear that kind of like swing, 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 little sprinkle. And I'll exaggerate the spring as well, so you guys can really hear that spring. Okay, so that's kind of like the guitar tone of Motown for me, right? Like, but modernized. Like, I'm trying to modernize the Motown sound. I'm not trying to do exactly what Motown does, right? Because we got plenty of that. But this is like, again, for licensing. So for sync licensing, that's what I want. So with this stuff, how do I do this? I always, when I'm going to do a comp, like for example, I play a bunch of guitar licks or lines, I would make like a folder like this, right? And you could see like this is my comp folder, my take folder, and I would have different takes in here. Looks like I only did one take of this one, right? But I always, if I unhide the tracks, I always duplicate the track and I copy down and I call it uncomped. Okay, so that's really, really important so you can go back in case you're missing something. So for example, like if I have, here's a perfect example actually, because there's a little fluke weirdness in this Telecaster that I don't like. There's a note here that I'm not feeling. Okay, so for example, right here. So it goes like, veer, veer, like there's a weird note there, right? So now I want to replace that, but I've already flattened my stack. And this happens to so many people and they just don't pay attention, right? Like, so what I'll do is I'll chop that out. Right, that's my culprit right there. I can unhide my uncomped folders, right? I can unmute this and unhide it and solo that out as well. Now I have, this is also turned off. So if you right click on the track, you can say track header components turn on off, turn that back on, right? And I have the bias effects and harmonics. And now I can go into my take folder and I can go to a different take. And I can find a note that's going to replace that one that's weird, you know? It just doesn't, it doesn't sound right to me. So let's check it out. So here is another take here, right? So let's check this out. Let's mute this guy, just hitting M. And then let's take that guy instead, right? And let's mute these other guys around it. And let's just see. See, now we got a better note. Now, if I would have just, you know, flattened, merged my stack and then like not have that doubled my comp takes and everything, I wouldn't have that to be able to just go find that note. So now I can just grab this. I'm just going to option drag it down because I want to make a copy of it. I'm moving it down here. I can flatten this and merge it. Okay. Got that. Now pull this guy out and make the edit, like smooth this edit out, right? So that's all I got to do. Got to find the connection there. And I don't know why it's overlapping like that. That's weird. But here, yeah. Okay. So, cause it was muted. All right. So you see here, I can just take this guy and let's go no overlap here. Cause I don't like that. I don't like the whole like overlapping stuff. That's really weird to me. So I'm just going to bring it back up. All right. Bring it back down. Okay. So now I have my note fixed and I can just make a crossfade there. Let's make sure I just did that right. Okay, so that's not right still. So I'm just going to take this guy, unmute him, and then let's smooth that out. Now I've fixed my note that I don't like. Right. And this is really important. Like you guys have to make your track stacks and you got to save this stuff and you got to be really meticulous with your edits. I mean, this is a record. It's going to be forever, right? Like I'm not playing around. These are my assets. All right, check it out. Okay, cool. Now we got a fixed part, right? Like, it's great. Love it. Now I can turn that back off. I can mute it and hide it. You don't have to mute it, but I'm just gonna hide that. Okay, so now you got that hidden again. You've comped your guitar. That's kind of how I start stuff with guitar stuff, okay? And also, like this, I can manually move this back a little bit because I don't want it so rushed, because it felt kind of rushed. All right. And this guy should be landing on the 5-3 here. So I could chop this guy and move him a little bit too. Okay. Now I'm just trying to lock in the timing with the drums and the groove. That's very important in soul, modern records. I mean, really anything that's beat driven, and most modern stuff is beat driven. So there's that, right? That's how you comp a guitar, and you save your comps and your takes. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kind of the guitar on the Strat. I have a UAD Fender, which I absolutely love. And if you want that like clean, spanky tone without driving too much, you just take the instrument volume way down and you turn the mic volume up. And it works great on this plugin. It doesn't really work great in real life. I'll put it that way. Like if you mic up a Fender Deluxe like that and do that, this is not real world stuff. But I got this really beautiful clean tone here, and I panned left and right. So these are the Strats, and it's literally just doing the same exact thing for the rhythm. And we're picking up here in the chorus. And then once I get all my tones together, I would arrange everything. But I'll show you like the tones. I'll show you how I comp the guitars, because I still got other comp stacks here, right? Now, Strats. What do we got? We got the Fender. We got the harmonic saturation again. We're just spanking a little bit. We got some drive there. And here's my little secret magic trick. Make the guitars more vibey, is to use the RC20 on very, very small wobble, 2%, stereo, and then you want to take this rate and go as slow as possible, okay? Because you don't want to go in wow, wobble, wobble. You don't want it pitching and doing weird shit. What you want it to do is just kind of give a little bit of taste, a little vibe on there, okay? You can turn this magnitude down as well, which is basically a dry-wet knob for RC20, which a lot of people don't use, which is stupid. I typically use like the mix knobs here and these mix knobs here. Like this is kind of the amount. These are the mix knobs, so you can use like dry wet kind of vibes here, or you can use dry wet overall. So if you did something pretty dramatic and you go, okay, what does it sound like if I just like blended it in? It's always a great idea. All right, so I have a preset here that I tweaked, Bradley Lo-Fi Vocals 1. Okay, and I put that on both of these rhythm guitars, and this is the chain, and this is what they sound like. All right, hold on. I'm getting that weird MIDI thing again. I have no idea why Logic Pro is acting so crazy. I'm so sorry, guys. Don't mean to ruin the party. Come on, baby. It's funny. It's like Logic is made for Apple, so it's definitely not Logic Pro. It's probably a plugin within Logic Pro. And like I said, this is a Mac Studio with an M1 Max chip in it and 64 gigs of RAM. So it's not the computer either. It's always going to be some software. So what's up? You guys got any questions so far? I got to get my plugin game up. Yeah, well, not really. I could do all this with stock Logic Pro stuff. I don't think I'd get exactly the tone I'm looking for, and I'd probably have to work harder for it, but I could get pretty close. I think you got to train your ear. You got to work on a lot of records, and you got to finish records. A lot of people can't finish records. That's the truth. And I'm not dogging anybody. I'm just saying, like, that's why their tones aren't there. What's up, Vady? How you doing, man? In B. I think it was in P. No problem. Yeah, you got to finish up some records, bro. You got to really like spend time on music. It takes a lot of time. You know, fuck. 27 years so far for me. All right, so here we go. So here's the Strats. Let's see if this plays. Okay, so here's a really, really cool part about RC20 and what it's doing here. And hopefully some of you guys are hearing that little tiny touch. But when you talk about rate and you talk about this wow and flutter and you talk about how little this is doing, you can actually hear it in the track as it kind of filters through, and then it'll crunch. Now you got to listen really carefully, and you guys tell me if you can hear it, and I'll tell you when I hear it, okay? But basically, it's going through this modulation process, and then it's hitting a part where it's like crunching the distortion a little bit different, right? So it's going really clean, and then it'll hit this part where it goes. It just gives a little fuzz. Check it out. Hopefully you guys can hear that. Now, without the RC20, you're not going to get that modulation that's happening. Okay, so check this out. Without the RC20. I mean, this is how subtle shit gets for me. Right? Like, I get so subtle on shit. And that makes the record move because you have this modulation that's oh so subtle. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't hear it. Yeah, you're not gonna hear it, but you'll feel it, and people will feel it in the record, and they won't know why this record moves, but the other one they heard doesn't. You know what I'm saying? So all these little things that are kind of making movement throughout. You know, that's what makes a record great. Especially with mixing, sonics, producing. It's all about these little tiny things that are happening that the ear goes, oh, that's different. I don't know what's different, but it feels cool, right? So let's throw this in the mix. Okay, you probably heard it there though, right? You heard it dip in like volume, like down, you know? And you can't use, like I couldn't use that same tone on this part right here. So hopefully you guys understand that. Like if I duplicate this track here and I pop this guy, because this is a whole new thing. This is like a lead, right? All right, so hopefully you're hearing it a lot more with that, right? You're hearing that like dip and get distorted and do something different. We can't have that on a lead. That can't happen. It can happen on the rhythm, but for me, like on the lead, that's not gonna work. So what I have to do is I gotta take this whole track and I gotta bring this down to a new track and I gotta treat this lead completely different. Make sense? So I can't use this RC20, the wobble on here. I just turn it off. Because what it's doing is not cool for this guitar. Now check it out with that off, because you're gonna hear the difference. Okay, it's still doing it. Let's see. Let's turn RC20 off altogether. See what I'm saying? So the RC20 is actually modulating the signal, which is fucking up my rhythm guitar, like my melody lick guitar, right? But for the rhythm guitars, it sounds really cool because it's adding movement to everything. So I like it here, but I don't like it on the lead because the lead, you're losing notes. You need every note. Bam, 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 bam. You can't go bam, 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 bam. You know, it's gonna screw it up and it doesn't sound good, right? So I take off the RC20 there. I don't need that. All right, and then this has a double here as well. So this is the telly, and this is stuff I got to comp, and I'll show you how I comp this stuff after I show you kind of like how these work together. So these guitars work together. Check it out. Okay, there you go. So you have like this kind of stompy bump, which is really, really dope when it comes with the drums, right? So here it is. Okay, cool. You guys get it? You happy with that? You guys got any questions? I'm going to answer some questions real quick. Gives an edge on the third and fourth pass. Yeah. Dwack, what do we got? Hey, just joined the stream. Please show me how you recorded your guitar. Would be super helpful. Sounds good. Thanks. So guitar is recorded through, let's see here. Go through the console. This is a DI'd guitar. And like I was talking about earlier, it's about figuring out what guitar you need for what style of music you're doing. That's very important. So for this kind of style of music, this kind of Motown, soul, you know, swingy, whatever, you want to use like Telecaster is great. You want to use, yeah, there's all sorts. You could use whatever. Strat, you know, Strat is going to be good. But hollow body kind of vibes, Rickenbacker would be my preference. I just don't have $6,000 to buy a 66 Rickenbacker, okay? So I don't have one. But I have a Telecaster and I have a Strat. So that's what made it on the record. Okay, and then for the guitar, what I typically would do is I would take it through a DI, so I unison it, and I would take it through any sort of strip that's going to give it some vibe, meaning like maybe a Neve, right? Like a 1073 preamp. Just give it a little bit of drive. We're good. That's it. That's all you need. You can do it clean through the preamp. It's fine, right? Whatever you got. Use whatever you got. Okay, and then the guitar is recorded, and then the tone is being picked up with different plugins. Just depends on what the guitar is trying to do. This one has a 65 UAD on it, right? So I explained this earlier, and you can go watch the replay to understand why I'm setting it this way. And then it has the harmonics saturator plugin from Softtube, which is amazing. One of my favorite plugins ever. All right. That's the guitar tone for that. Now, if you're talking about like more of the lead, springy reverb kind of vibe, which is up here up front. So that's pretty driven, that telly. And I'm trying to make it sound tape saturated, like it's just hitting tape really hard. That's the idea, right? Because that was like the classic sound of Motown. That's going through the the Bias Effects 2. Awesome plugin, not super stable on M1 computers, just so you guys know. But yeah, this has a gate boost pedal, right? So it's just got a little boost there. Going through an AC 30. Boost 66 AC boost V2, whatever. Then the British 30 with a 57 on it, and then the spring reverb in Bias Effects 2, which is incredible. I love this spring reverb. And Softtube makes a version of this as well that I use all the time. Like, for example, you can go into Softtube and This is kind of the classic tube delay, right? But they also have a spring reverb. This thing is really noisy. You can make it go crazy. But yeah, they also have the spring reverb if you want that one. But this is the tube delay, just to give you like an idea of what that is modeling in the bias effects too. So, right, it's giving the same kind of vibe, which I think is actually a hardware unit. I'm not sure what it's called or what it is, but you know, there you go. That's the vibe there. That's the guitar. Any other questions? You guys got anything? Any other questions? All right, so now I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna comp my guitars, okay? So the way that I comp my guitars, like I said earlier, the first thing I do is I duplicate the track, okay? So I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna show you exactly how I would do that. All right, so I'm going to hide my tracks. I'm gonna go Command D, right, in Logic Pro, grab all this, Option, drag it down. Made a copy, I'm good, it's safe. I'm going to now label this Strat, and I'm going to say uncomped. Okay, first step. If you guys skip that step, you're going to be pissed at yourself. Don't do it. Don't skip that step. Turn it off, mute it, whatever you want to do. Go right-click, hide selected track. Now, we're moving on. We're working with this guy right here. I work in chunks depending on the parts, right? So here, I'm just going to, I already know this is good, but I would listen through, and then I would flatten and merge this, okay? So flatten and merge, I would get rid of this little part here at the end that is just noise, right? I would give it a nice little fade at the end. All right, cool, easy, easy peasy. All right, and then I click on the region. I have a touch screen here, right? Clicked on the region, clicked on it. Option F, okay? I'm gonna open up my polyphonic, you know, timer, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Every single DAW has this. You know, Pro Tools has it, Elastic Audio, all that stuff. Go to the region box up here, and I'm just going to simply go to 16th A swing. Okay. I'm going to zoom in all the way. I'm going to listen to this. Make sure the timing is right. I'm going to play it to a click. I'm going to hit C on my computer. It's going to turn the click on. I'm going to solo this. I'm going to play it. Okay, I time it out. I figure out where there's things that I don't need. Like, for example, like this does not need to be here. Double click it, get rid of it, right? That's it. Now that is timed out. That is great. Sounds great. It's on the click. It's on the, you know, it's vibing, it's grooving, all dope. All right, so once I'm done with that, I Option F again. And I know this has been comped. So typically when I actually like comp and time a guitar, I would hit Option C and I would color it red. So guitars for me, guitar is always going to be red. I don't know why. It's just something I got into. So anytime I comp a guitar, I color it red. So that's going to be the whole thing. So now let's go through this guy, right? I've already duplicated the track. Remember that. So I'm going to Control apostrophe. For me, that means take the loop point around the selected region. You guys can hit all these key commands however you want. Option K is going to open up your key commands. You can go through and figure out whatever key command you want, and you can set it by learning by key position or key label, okay? Very, very simple. Nothing complicated here. Okay, so now I have this. I'm going to solo this out. I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to make a comp from my stack, which I only have 2 takes here, so hopefully I got everything. All right. All right, so my computer's doing this weird timing thing. I don't know what's going on, but I think it's because of the live stream. But yeah, it's like, you know, it's shitting out on me. So let's imagine that this was all beautiful. Same thing. I would come in, I would flatten and merge. Remember, I already have a duplicate of this. I would hit Option F. I would open up this polyphonic vibe here, right? Click on that. And sometimes what I'll do, I'll show you another way to do this. You could double click on the region after you've turned on flex time, right? Then you could click on this little tab here and you could go to File. and you could see every single thing here, okay? Which are all the little markers that it's placed on the timing. Now, for example, this one doesn't need to be there. You could double click it, it'll get rid of it. I'm gonna undo that because there's another way to do this. So sometimes the algorithm will like track too many or too little. You could just hit this minus and plus button, okay? So this is basically taking down the sensitivity. So I can go through this and go, okay, this has got everything I want, maybe go plus all the way, and then just take minus until you get rid of any stuff that's like catching too much, right? See that? So now I'm like getting rid of the things that are like, oh, that's too much. That's trying to do too much. This might be good, but you know, hit minus again and you'll get less and less and less accuracy. So it's like every time it hears or sees a transient, it's going to try to mark that, right? So you can just go through there and you can just minus, minus, minus until it takes it down. But sometimes you'll get rid of whole things. So you want to kind of find a balance, right? So that's good. And then anything that's weird, just double click and get rid of it. Okay. Makes sense? Like, for example, I missed that, so I have to hit the plus again, right? Until I get those. And then this one's weird, but yeah, this is not a good example because this is just kind of a weird tracking. Anyway, get rid of these. You can just double click them. And like, you could do this ahead of actually doing the timing, right? So for example, I'm going to just plus that, bam. I don't need that guy. Okay, cool. Looks pretty good. So you can go through and sort this out before you actually do anything with it. For example, before you quantize, right? Let's hit this plus, try to get that guy in there. All right. And I'm just going to kind of like breeze through that. Okay. Let's imagine that's awesome. I hit X again, go up here, go to the region box, and I go to quantize. Now I'm quantizing from those markers. I took away the markers that are not needed, right? So there you go. So you can kind of like do that and trust that you don't have to go through it like this, if that makes sense. It's just depending on how you want to do it. It's a workflow situation. Do it however you want. For example, I don't like that one maybe, or maybe I do. Just up to you, right? So what are you trying to quantize? Are you trying to quantize like every string hit? Are you trying to quantize the slides? You know, stuff like that. Be careful with that. Like this, I would not quantize because it's a slide and I can tell that. Right? But if you undo that, it's actually taken this note right here and it's compressed it a little bit. So if I double click that, it lets the note, you know, slide naturally. Okay, so let's listen to that. So that was crazy, right? Like some weirdness in here. So you always have to listen, never trust the computer. I think it's just a live streaming issue, like a weird buffer thing. But yeah, this all looks good, sounds good. I would go through the whole thing, listen to everything, get rid of stuff you don't really want, make sure it's all in time. And once it's all in time and you're all good and you're like, that's sick, awesome, just hit Command F or Option F again, and you're just hiding that, but it's still there, right? If I hit Option F, it's still on until you turn it off. See what I'm saying? So that's on. If you turn it off, you're good. Option F. Now, for those out there that are like, yo, I don't trust the computer and stuff, which I don't blame you. I don't trust the computer either. What I'll do is I'll go through here and I'll bypass all my plugins and I'll make a little loop point around this and select the regions and say bounce in place. Okay. Now then I could say like guitar rhythm dash strat and then say like timed and comped. You know what I mean? So GTR, rhythm, strat, timed, and comped. That's it. Now this is going to say new track. You can leave, you can mute, you can delete. I would always leave or I would mute, right? Like always keep your work. So you can always go back steps. Okay. Bypass effects plugin, or I just do it manually because I don't trust the computer. Include audio tail, good. Volume and pan automation, I don't want any of that stuff. I have it panned. I want it to stay where it's at, okay? New track, hit okay. I'm gonna bounce that in place. Now you know that the computer's not working extra hard as well, keeping this elastic audio active, right? So if I hit Option F again, go back to this guy. Now I got these guys and I can then just duplicate the track or move the plugins over. So Command D, that's way easier for me. Turn them on, right? Remember, we don't want the RC20 on this one, so let's get rid of that guy. And then I can go back to the thing that I just fixed and did all that stuff on, turn it off and hide it. And now I'm not using processing power in the background that's like rendering this elastic audio thing all the time. And I've seen so many sessions get screwed up because of that, because people leave that shit on. Okay, I'm gonna take this and copy the name of the track and move it up there, and then I'm gonna delete this. Okay, so now I have a comped and timed. I'm gonna Option C and I'm gonna color it red. So that's kind of like the vibe and like how I would go through this. Last thing I'm just going to mention about, you know, producing this kind of commercial vibe and getting ideas. I always throw vocals and like bullshit on it just to make sure that it works. Okay. So like I have a temp vocal here where I've just kind of cut some ideas. This could be a pre-chorus. This could be a verse. This could be a chorus idea, right? So here it is. Yeah, of course I'm getting this weird timing thing again. So let's restart Logic again. I swear to God, it's the Ecamm driver. Ecamm for the win. At least it reopens really fast. So if you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments. Drew, what do we got? Generally, you don't need to compress DI guitars much or at all, right? Like if you're using amp simulators. Yeah, exactly. Because an amp is compressing it, especially if it's a tube amp, right? I mean, what are you doing with the tube? You're driving the tube, which is compressing the signal. That's why you're getting distortion. So why compress a guitar? The only time I compress a guitar, Drew, is when I'm trying to get that really clean kind of like Prince sound, right? So I DI a clean guitar and maybe I go through a little bit of compression to get it to speak, you know? I'll use compression for tone. But I don't typically use compression on electric guitars to like compress electric guitars. It doesn't make any fucking sense. You know, sometimes you want it like in the mix, you need to compress an electric guitar because you're losing notes. That's why I would use it, right? Because like you have like say, you know, certain notes are jumping out. So in that case, I use compression or I'll use multiband compression, right? Multiband compression, dynamic EQing. So like those notes that are going, you know, I would just kind of dip those down so that they're even with everything else and then just turn the guitar up. Hopefully that makes sense. Got a lot of stuff set up and I'm planning on adding it to the next track. Dope, dope, dope. Yeah, guitars are, I love guitars. I've been working with guitars for 26 years now, you know, like recording them, producing them, like trying to play them. All right, so here's like the temp vocal here. So just ideas, right? Just things like mess around with ideas, make sure that it works. Now, remember I said a female is going to be on this, Heather Taylor, right? She's actually part of my Radium Roundtable group, but I'm producing this song for her. So I have to make sure that it's going to work for a female vocalist. Like, you know, if she comes in on this and gotta leave that alone, like if she comes in on that, she's going to be an octave up, right? So I got to make sure that it works. So I'm going to sing on it and I'm going to try to, woo, you got baby alone, gotta leave that alone, gotta leave that alone. You know, I got to understand where I'm going with it. I'm not going to always put a vocal down that's going to be in the female range or fake it or whatever. If I know that it's an octave up, I'm just going to do it an octave down where I sit, you know, like as a male. Now, sometimes there's females that can get down there. Like, you know, I'm pretty high here. Like, you gotta eat alone. Dun, 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 da, 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 no. You know, like, I know plenty of females that can hit that range. But then they also have somewhere to go when they get to the chorus, right? You got it bad, bad, baby, long, long. You know, like there's somewhere for them to go. You gotta do that alone, bad, bad, baby, long. So I can't get up there without falsetto, but again, I'm producing for a female. So it's really important to keep that in mind when you're producing. And I just wanted to do this live stream to give you guys some of my insights on like starting a record and producing and guitar tones and drums and like for a specific thing. This isn't like to show you everything and anything there is to about producing records. Like that is not what I'm trying to show you guys. I'm trying to teach you guys a few little tips and tricks and things that I'm using, different plugins I like, and going for a certain time period, right? So you can see a lot of this stuff is made for that kind of like Motown era. And if you start using plugins that aren't like they're more modern, it's not going to sound like that throwback kind of classic sound. It's going to sound not classic, you know? And then you're going to be like, why doesn't it sound classic? Why can't I get it to sound like it's coming from, you know, a 1967 soul record? Because you're not using the right tools. You can't imagine that you're just going to throw anything on there and you're going to understand this stuff. That's the difference between record producers and people that don't produce records and just kind of messing around. So if you want to be a record producer, you have to understand all the tools, the history of music. That's very important. And spend time on this stuff, you know, and peep game and ask questions, because you guys aren't asking any questions, which is absolutely ridiculous to me. Why come to a live stream with someone that produces records for a living and not ask questions? Just so weird to me. Probably because I talk so much, right? You guys are like, well, you're answering all my questions. You're just talking and talking and talking and talking. Yeah, it's hard because you feel like you're talking to yourself on these live streams sometimes. Yeah, okay, so Brian, what do you got here? Cool, appreciate it. Do you mic guitar amps much for guitar tracks? Not anymore, man. I used to amp up and mic up and, you know, have my 57 and my 121 Royer and my, you know, I've used like Sony 37As, which are like ribbon tube mics, which are amazing. Like one of my favorite mics ever. If you guys ever use this mic, Sony C37 7A. Okay, so this guy right here, where is he? Yeah, there you go. These mics are so awesome. This is a Sony C37A. This one looks like it's gone through hell. Beautiful, beautiful mic. I've mic'd up harmoniums with this. I've mic'd up harmonicas, guitars, nylon guitars, really good with this. The Sony C800 actually sounds really good on nylon guitars as well. But yeah, these are all like vintage mics. But I think they also, like, I know that the Slate Digital mic has a model of that. Pretty sure. Let me see here, just so you guys have some of these references here. There's a mix rack. Yeah, ribbon mics are amazing. Ribbon mics are super, super amazing. I love them. If you can get your hands on a nice ribbon mic, you got that kind of dough, do it. Okay, so like I think it's in the Blackbird Studios. I don't actually have this. But yeah, so you got the No. Okay, so it's probably in the classic tubes, which I do have. Let's check this out. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. FG37A. Bada bam. This guy right there. Pretty cool. Pretty freaking cool. Amazing microphone. So if you're going for like a classic sound and you want like a ribbon classic sound, I mean, that's classic, you know. 44, RCA 44. This is a absolute classic ribbon microphone, right? These are classic sounds that are going to get your vocal sounding, you know, vintage, really. So I would use a lot of ribbon mics. Tube mics as well, you know, 47s, things like that. Yeah, my shit's all screwed up, man. I don't know. I'm sorry that the live stream of like this audio is like so weird. Just like really awkward. There must be something like some setting or some plugin screwing everything up. Ghost Videos 1. Let me hear the track. All right. Well, you missed the whole stream, obviously. You can go back and watch the stream. I'll leave it up for you guys. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. I got like another 5 minutes here. I'll answer another question. If not, I'm going to get out of here. And you guys can share the show. And you can show love on the show. Because I do this stuff for free for you guys. And try to give you guys game. That's all I'm trying to do. And free content all the time. Don't charge a penny for the content. Nothing? Anybody else? What do you guys got? What do you got? Ask me questions, man. You got me here. You're here right now on the live stream. You got a song you need mixed and mastered? Hit me up, bro. You know I'll make that shit sound amazing. Let's actually see if we can hear some stuff because I'll play you a song that's coming out here in about a week with my guy Drew Knight. And this is one I produced, mixed and mastered. And I exec'd really like up front because Drew did a lot of the heavy lifting. You know, he just like went through my song creation challenge and just like, you know, I exec'd it, just give him feedback, try this, change that, etc. But it came out great, man. Like I'm really happy with the record. I'll play it for you guys. You just slap OTTs and reverbs on the master. Shut up. You're not putting reverbs on the master. That's crazy. All right. Let's see where did I put it? Where is stars? Drew Knight. All right. Let me see here. I have like so many records that I like have to offload to other hard drives. So give me a second here. Give me a second here, boys and girls. I think this is it. 0706. All right, here you go. Here's a little preview of a new one coming out, you guys. Hopefully you like it, and you could pre-save it too if you're not an asshole. If you're an asshole and you hate to watch people win and you hate supporting people, that's cool too. I understand. But here it is for you guys. Oh yeah, is it crackling for you guys when I play that? Let me know, because I definitely, it's got to be the audio driver then. Just tell me if it's crackling when I play this. All right, well, fuck it. I'm not going to play it for you. I don't know. I got like some audio driver issue, man. It's so lame. I'm so pissed about that. Let's see if we close Logic Pro, if it works. Stupid. It's spitting, it's spittling all over the audio world. It's like, come on, man. Why you got to do this to me, Apple? What is this? I know it's Ecamm, though. Like, I'm not going to blame Apple. I'm like, yo, Ecamm, get your shit together. All right, let's try this. Let's see if you guys can hear this, if it's spittling still. Yeah, still doing it. Bastard! Let's see if we can change the audio here. I want you guys to hear it. I want to play it for you guys so bad. You know what? I'm going to try and just switch the audio driver. Okay, and then let's switch it back. Turn it off and on again, guys. See what happens.
So bad, but I guess I never tried.
go tap in with that song, bro. It drops on the 29th. That's like just barely a week away. Go pre-save the song. Show love for the song. Share it. Don't be dickheads. Support people that make art, that work really hard on it. All right. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys coming through. I'll see you later. See you on Saturday, actually. Let's do live song reviews on Saturday.